How safe is our meat supply? The USDA assures us there's almost no chance Americans will be infected with mad cow disease, that ailment that caused dozens of deaths in England and led to the slaughter of 1 million cattle.
But critics say there are glaring loopholes in meat safety programs, and it might have a connection to weird cattle mutilations. The I-Team's George Knapp is here with the story.
Gary and Paula, once again, a word of warning. Some of the graphic images you're about to see are included in our story. Back in February, the USDA ordered the largest meat recall in U.S. history, 143 million pounds of beef, much of it bound for school lunch programs. The action was taken because a so-called downer cow, a presumably sick animal, was processed in violation of regulations. But the USDA didn't catch the error. Animal activists did. Critics say USDA seems much more interested in protecting meat producers than in protecting consumers. So how does this relate to the weird phenomena known as animal mutilations?
I've never seen anything just pull one apart like that.
Thousands of ranchers all across the country have learned the harsh lesson about mystery mutilations. This ranch in northeastern Utah lost 14 expensive animals in less than 2 years, carved up with surgical precision. This ranch in northern Nevada has been hit 7 times in the last 8 years. Dr. Colin Kelleher says many of the cases have no apparent explanation. Some coincide with the appearance of UFOs. Others, though, appear to be the work of unknown humans who operate in silence and darkness.
There was really no chance that a predator could have done this. Unless coyotes pack scalpels and they have surgical training and what have we.
Kelleher and others suspect there's a secret monitoring program underway, tracking the spread of something through the food chain, at least through the meat supply.
We had some looked like a cesarean had been done on a cow and the calf removed.
Former Montana Sheriff's Deputy Keith Wolverton investigated dozens of mutilation cases. At one scene, he found a needle under a dead steer.
In the ground, buried in the ground, like it had been dropped.
A 1994 mutilation at a ranch in the Las Vegas Valley indicated something like a laser was used to cut the steer.
When this stuff was all cooked, had a cooked appearance to it.
In Alabama in the early 90s, police officer Ted Oliphant documented a correlation between cut-up cows and mystery helicopters seen by ranchers. He also found a white powder on one animal that, on analysis, appeared to be a coagulant. In Utah, Dr. Kelleher's team found a blue gel substance on a dead cow. The gel included a chemical sedative and something like formaldehyde, substances which degrade quickly.
95% of those cases probably are never reported. And the 5% of cases that are actually investigated, if you get there after 48 hours after the death, you're wasting your time.
Kelleher isn't sure who is doing the mutilations, but is pretty sure why. His suspicions are outlined in his book, Brain Trust, which traces the history of a family of brain-wasting diseases, the best known of which is mad cow, or BSE. It's a shocking trail. Specimens obtained from diseased cannibals in New Guinea were sent to a wildlife refuge and research lab in Maryland, where researchers associated with biological weapons programs tried to see if brain-wasting diseases could be passed from species to species.
They started injecting the ground-up brains of these cannibals into essentially every animal species they could come up with. They injected them again and again and again. They injected chimpanzees, they injected, mice, rats, guinea pigs, sheep, deer. We know that there were several escapes of the animals that occurred during this whole process.
The agent which causes mad cow is an essentially indestructible protein known as prions. Kelleher believes the infected prions that cause mad cow slipped into the food chain when deer escaped from the Maryland lab. The USDA has repeatedly assured consumers that our meat supply is safe, but in incident after incident, the horrors of American slaughterhouses have been well documented, and oversight has been sorely lacking. As a recent hidden camera incident documented, so-called downer cows, the ones most likely to carry the mad cow prions, can still get into the food supply. Even now, only 1% of the 35 million cattle slaughtered in the U.S. each year are tested for mad cow. USDA has prohibited private meat packers from testing more. The animal parts removed during most mutilation cases are exactly what would be taken by someone looking for prions prion contamination, Kelleher says. By doing their sampling in secrecy, under the guise of weird mutilations, the mystery surgeons avoid serious scrutiny and do not alarm the meat-eating public.
You're monitoring this because the last thing you want to do is create a public panic and essentially say to the American public that eating beef is not safe.
Officially, anyway, we don't have any mad cow cases in humans in the U.S., but Dr. Kelleher thinks there are some disturbing similarities between mad cow and other diseases such as CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, and even Alzheimer's. There have been outbreaks or clusters around the country, possibly linked to the consumption of meat. It might be a much bigger problem than anyone imagines, he and others allege, and it needs to be investigated. If someone is carrying out mutilations as part of some sort of a testing program, you know, maybe it's a good thing, except for the cows and the ranchers, that is. And of course, we have a lot of links on our website if you'd like more information. And I realize this is weird stuff and people don't like to think about it. Of course, there are 10,000 of these incidents.
Yeah.
It's very serious to the ranchers and farmers.
Oh, yes.
It's a great loss to them, and it's a felony crime. And you know, nobody's solved it yet.
Exactly. And it's so sad to watch
it is sad.
those
It is.
animals.
The pictures there just break your heart.
Yep.
Thanks, George.
Sure.
Thank you, George.